Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Creatives and Conversations, where we sit down and talk with creators and go behind the scenes, deep dive into their minds. I'm your host, Spencer Murphy of Appalachian Creative. Thank you so much for joining us. With the intro out of the way, I'm excited to introduce our first two guests and good friends of mine, music producers Kaspa and Speechless. Guys,
Yeah,
What's
what's up,
happening?
how's it going?
man? I'm chilling.
Good, doing good. How are you?
Not too bad. If you guys want to take a moment and just introduce yourself to the audience, kind of let them know what's going on in your life, who you are, anything you really think they need to know.
Oh, what's going first?
Uh, Eeny, meeny, miny, mo for it. Let's see. Speech go first. Casp go second. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay, well, sorry. You didn't hear anything I said?
Nope, not a thing.
Damn. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Speechless. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been making music now full time probably for about 3 years. And I've been messing with music all my life, but now we finally got it going and we're rolling with it. And yeah, Casp, what about you, man?
Um, yeah, I'm Casper. I've been making music for around like 4 years. Still getting to the full time thing, but yeah, we on the way there. But yeah, I've been playing guitar for like 8 years and been making music for 4 years, and then
You there?
Damn, it cut out again.
wait,
Something.
what?
Yeah, you like
Yeah,
cut
it
out.
just it keeps randomly cutting out.
Oh my
So
god!
the last end of that.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I've been making music for around 4 years, playing guitar for like 8 years. And then yeah, I've just been making different kinds of genres, but right now I'm sticking to lo-fi, and that's like my main thing.
Awesome. For the audience that doesn't know what lo-fi is, can one of you guys kind of explain the genre and where it's
Sure.
starting to go a little bit?
Lo-fi at the roots is really simple instrumental music that kind of gives you a sense of it being played on like a dusty record player. So you'll get sometimes some static noises, some background sounds. It's a really raw genre with a lot of room to explore. So you get a lot of subgenres within that. But the general scheme of it is just really low key instrumental music with no words.
Mm, it's
Thank you.
definitely very ambient, right? On
Yeah,
downtime.
yeah. So basically, lo-fi stands for low fidelity, which is like less clear than obviously high fidelity music, and it's all based solely around taking these lower quality sounds and turning it into something that's appealing to the ear in a sense. I would say
For
it's
sure.
it's mainly just instrumental music. Some people like to throw vocal samples, stuff like that, on top of it. A lot of rap now is starting to go into this chill ambient lo-fi type of style, um, and it's all just kind of started with underground people like you guys.
Yeah, there's definitely been a strong cult following for it for a while, but now we're finally starting to see a little bit of areas like you mentioned, rap, some mainstream, other genres kind of tap into it. So
Yeah,
it's
a lot
really
of
been,
vocalists.
yeah, the vocals are really starting to be the forefront of the genre. I think that can extend the life of it, kind of grow it even more.
That could like definitely affect how lo-fi goes into the mainstream, because once you put vocals on like a track, basically it kind of just goes to that another level. and it could easily like end up on like a radio, on the radio.
For sure. I couldn't agree more with that. I could see a lot more vocal lo-fi coming.
Now, for people that don't know you guys actually started out producing music in a underground style called funk. Uh, can you go ahead and explain how your funk roots have kind of played a role and helped you kind of learn music production in a sense?
Do you want to go first?
You go for it, Casp.
All right. So funk. I mean, I started making funk basically when I started making music. Well, not. Uh, sorry. So it was just ringing me. So basically, I started making funk around 2, 3 years ago, and it was kind of at the beginning when I started making music. So when I started making music 4 years ago, I was just getting, I was just getting kind of introduced to everything. And then I remember my very first track was like that I made like from scratch. That was like a funk track. And with lo-fi and funk, there's a lot of similarities when it comes to samples. Um, a lot of samples could be used in both genres. However, the actual funk style is much different. I mean, funk includes a lot of like trap drums and a lot of half tempo beats. So just a different kind of rhythmic pattern of everything. But there's definitely similarities when it comes to like static noise and just overall rawness of the actual music. But yeah, the similarities are probably like sampling and some of the atmosphere, some of the ambience that you can find in both genres. And then yeah,
I couldn't agree more. He pretty much said it perfectly. I don't even know how to add to that because it's a perfect description of how funk is carried into lo-fi. You see, there's even still a lot of artists to this day that will continue to make both. I think it's very easy to say now there's a lot more people listening to lo-fi than funk, but I think a lot of these producers sometimes just love making either one. So you're going to see producers continue to kind of tamper with both, and it's just really wild because they're so much alike yet so different at the same time,
yeah,
audience speaking. But the one thing is for sure that they both really grew strong on SoundCloud.
Now, it's funny that you mentioned SoundCloud because uh, funk, in my opinion, started with early '80s and '90s underground underground rap, and then turned into chopped and screwed albums, stuff like that. And then it's kind of progressed into people ripping vocals off of those type of tracks and making their own chopped and screwed
yeah.
type of
For
beats.
sure, for sure.
It's definitely taken from like 90s Memphis, like groups and just people, artists, I guess. And what people have been doing is just sampling those people and just putting their own twist onto the tracks. And I mean, you don't see that in lo-fi as much, but you still see people taking that 90s hip hop and then putting their own twist onto like a new track, making a new track out of the old kind of records.
For sure, for sure. Well, now that we kind of have an introduction of you guys and a little bit of a background on what kind of music you make, it's pretty obvious that you guys have a lot of passion for music and really enjoy what you guys do. So, where does your passion for music kind of originate, and when did you really start to notice you were getting into the music scene and into music in general? And how do you see how that transcribes into your present work?
Uh,
So,
go
um, for me personally, when I first can remember, as far back as my memory allows me, when I got into music, is I received my first CD player at the age of 5 for Christmas from my grandmother, and back then that was the most mobile way of listening to music that was out, coming off of like cassettes and stuff like that. But this was like the first, like, I can carry multiple CDs with me at a time. I can like have headphones in. So I just started to, even at a young age, incorporate music everywhere, like from that car ride from house to the store, from the house to the school, every day. I mean, anytime I could have headphones in and I wasn't at home, just being mobile, that allowed me to do it. So I kind of just grew up always listening to music, whether it was for a 5-minute walk somewhere or an hour drive. I mean, it was just always a part of my life. And then it didn't really take into a toll of creation aspect until I got older in my teens. I attempted to play guitar, drums, piano, and I knew my passion was there, but I couldn't quite get my finger on any of the instruments, and it kind of deterred my confidence for a couple years. And then it wasn't until just about 4 years ago when I started again just doing digital only, combining sounds like what we talked about lo-fi was, when I kind of found my route for making music.
Now, do you remember the first CDs you got with your CD player?
Yeah, it was I got Nelly's. I just went blank, but it had Hot in Here on it, and it had Air Force One. And I just remember listening to like that style of rap. And then I also got Linkin Park Matora, and it was just like two different styles of genres that I just could vibe out to at a young age. And from there, it just really started my deep dive into multiple genres.
Awesome. Kaspa.
Oh, bro. I mean, mine was a bit different. So, when I was like around 7, 8, I remember my cousin bought his like he was like I'm gonna play guitar, so he bought himself an acoustic guitar, right? And then like we were used to be like very close. He used to play like, a lot. Like he used to just like jam out. I was like, oh, I want to play guitar as well. Like he's playing guitar, I want to play guitar, right? So he was like, just get yourself a guitar. But I never got myself a guitar until I moved to England. I lived in Poland up until the age of 10, and then I moved to England. And this is where my dad actually bought me my first like electric guitar, which was like not even like a full scale guitar. It was like 3/4. So it was smaller. So I started playing that, and then I started getting into metal bands. A lot of, I mean, at first it was like rock, like AC/DC and Ozzy Osbourne, but then he started getting into like Metallica, Slayer. I started like growing my hair out, and I wanted to be like a metal guitarist. I really wanted to like just shred the guitar, right? Um, so I used to do that like a few hours a day, man. A few hours, like 5, 6 hours a day, every day. Because obviously, like when I was in England, I just didn't speak any English. So I was just like, well, what else am I gonna do? I'm just gonna play guitar, right? So I used to do that, and then that continued up until I got into. See, when I say high school, is it like middle school or something to you guys? No, I was like basically 15, 16, and that's when I started like getting introduced to genres like jazz and a bit more. I don't know. People started taking me from that kind of metal genre. They were like, Casper, like this is good. Like you're playing guitar, but you need to like understand what you're playing. So this is when I started like playing jazz and like learning chords, progressions, etc. And then everything just took like 100-degree turn when I went to college. Because that's basically when I cut all my hair, and then I started making music, or like through my computer, like electronic music. I started making like dubstep and trap kind of from like 2012, and then slowly I started getting introduced to like rap, hip hop. And then yeah, after I made my that first well, after I made that first funk track, that's when I kind of started realizing that that's where I want to go. And then I combined all the guitar elements, and then it just kind of led me into this lo-fi beats kind of instrumental music that I'm making right now.
Awesome. Now, for the people listening, I will throw in links to both of Caspa's and Speechless's music into the description. And possibly, if I get around to it, I'll throw in just a segment of some of their iconic tracks into the end of this as well, just so you kind of get an idea and you can go check them out for yourself. Uh, I've seen Caspa shred some metal guitar.
It's incredible.
It's
Incredible.
insane.
I wish I was like, oh, I just yeah.
It's
I
talent.
appreciate it. I
Don't let
appreciate
them
it.
downplay it. It's talent.
So it's crazy to me because the difference in your guys' music creation style is so different, yet the product is very much similar. Not necessarily exactly the same, but it's very similar, and it's kind of crazy because y'all's creative process is 100 times different. Kaspa throws a lot of his own guitar and stuff like that into his tracks, and I think it gives it a not necessarily a different sound, but it adds this different element where you wouldn't get with a lot of lo-fi tracks like that. It kind of makes it a little bit more unique if you know what I'm saying.
It's extremely unique.
Okay. So now that we've kind of gone over your introduction to music, stuff like that, where do you guys find most of your inspiration now? Is it through other artists, or is it through physical, like location, settings, stuff like that, or is it kind of a mixture between a bunch of different things?
For me, it's literally um, I'm always listening to music, and now that I've been making lo-fi predominantly for 3 years, that's really what I listen to, because I feel like it's just being in that environment. So I think the answer for me personally is both of those things you said. It's the music I listen to, which is mostly lo-fi, but it's just like diving into that environment of it, because it's like, for me, the more I listen to what other people are doing, it just kind of bounces ideas off of my head, because I'm not going to copy them, but it's just like, when you're a music producer, you listen to the song, but you like listen, you're like, oh, I see what they did there, or ooh, that's a cool way how
That's
they
so
did that.
true.
And you'll
Once you
like,
start, oh, sorry,
what,
go on.
Cass?
I was just saying, once you start being a music producer, you literally listen to music in different ways.
It's really hard at the beginning, because like, for me, I have such a respect for music. Like when I first started, I just like would sometimes having a hard time listening to songs I've listened to for years, because I was looking at it too technical, because I started to hear like things I would do differently, and it was kind of hard for me to let that go, because it was kind of taking away the like power of music for me, and like you just can't overanalyze it. You just got to enjoy it for what it is, and I think that's the beauty of music, especially with what we were just talking about, how we come from totally different paths, but can still create a similar product. It's just, there's not just one way to do it. There's just so many. So the inspiration, I think, is the same way. It comes from so many different things. The music I'm listening to right now, the music I heard 2 weeks ago that was super catchy, but I forgot about. It's all just like kind of combines in my head, and then it just kind of lays out on the next thing I work on.
For everybody that doesn't know, speech is basically a walking Rolodex for music. Anytime you don't know the name of a song or want a certain song,
I'm basically Shazam.
reach out to him. I'm sure he'll be glad to help and kind of help you find that genre or song or mood that you're kind of looking for. And just to add on what you said, speech there for a second, when how you said when you first started producing music, it kind of changed your perspective a little bit. For those of you that don't know, which is right now probably everybody, Speech and I lived together for about almost a year and a half, and he taught me a little bit on FL Studios, and I started trying to get into the music a little bit, trying to create some. Uh, Never posted anything because it wasn't really about posting it for me. It was more just about learning something new, and definitely see how once you start getting into music production, how it changes how you perceive music, and you once you kind of have an idea for how these production softwares work and stuff like that, it really changes how you listen to it. And when you hear something that's unique, you kind of have this understanding of what's actually happening behind the scenes.
For sure. For sure. It's like imagine if you were like the head of a grocery store, and you were the person that saw the inventory coming in, and you're like, okay, this bottle of water comes in, we pay 50 cents for it, but then we're selling it for $2. Every time you go to the store after that, you're going to be looking at everything differently, because you kind of know the back end of it. And it's kind of like the same process with music. It's just a whole new view you've never really had before, and it's really cool. It's like a third eye.
Yeah.
All right, Casp, you want to talk about where you find inspiration for your music?
I mean, similar to Speechless, I find my inspiration from a lot of different types of music. But in addition to that, I mean, I actually wrote an album, like a small project about me commuting on I don't know public transport here in Manchester where I live. Because this is actually where I listen to music the most. This is, I mean, I spend well not right now, but I used to spend like a lot of time on buses around like by 10 a.m. I was already in like three buses like going somewhere. So it's always me with my headphones in on like just commuting to work or to school or whatever. So that was when I came up with like all my ideas, all my kind of um ideas for music, but actually as well as like marketing on Instagram or like how I could do this and that. So it was wild. I mean, people have been saying that like they don't like commuting, but I was kind of like, oh, if I sit on the bus, I just listen to music and like just figure out stuff. I guess like come up with like new things. And so it's definitely that. And I would say for me, because with lo-fi, there's a lot of like emotions involved. I think like life events and like what's happening in my life at the moment also inspires me to make music. Whether it's a happy track or a sad track or like just neutral, like it doesn't just depends how I'm feeling on in that moment. And like wherever I feel, I kind of put it onto the music itself. So whenever you listen to it, you kind of know what mood I was in when I was making it. So definitely that inspires me. But mainly, yeah, mainly music, and I would say, yeah, it's a weird thing, but commuting definitely.
I just want to touch on that real quick because I can so relate to what Cass was talking about when he's talking about commuting and getting inspiration. Like for me, I didn't really recently figure it out because we all listen to music while we're driving typically, and there's people that listen to a specific playlist they have. They put shuffle on. Some just listen to the radio. But I found that for me, a lot of inspiration comes when I'm driving as well. But it took me a while to figure out why. I was like, why, if I'm in this vehicle or a moving object, am I gaining more inspiration? Because for me, it's like you're not sitting still. So you have like almost like a constant movie in front of you as you travel through your daily life or anything. It's a constant change of scenery with what the music's doing. So it's like creating your own movie every time, and it's attaching with your music you're listening to with it, your thoughts. You might just be listening to music on the bus and see some homeless person on the side of the road, and it might engage a different thought for you that you wouldn't have while listening to the same song on your headphones in your bed at home. So I think a lot of it had to do with kind of where I'm at, environmental wise, and especially when on the go. It just really, the mind works a lot, I think. A lot.
Very true. That's like so true.
Okay, before we move on to the next topic, lo-fi kind of gets this rap as being very emotionally based in the production sense. There's there's this lo-fi playlist. It's kind of a gag, kind of not, but it's lo-fi beats to kiss your homies to.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
so,
that's a
how do
funny
y'all
one.
feel about lo-fi being perceived as this very emotionally driven genre? And do you find yourself putting a lot of emotion into your tracks, or is it just something that happens coincidentally?
I personally think so with lo-fi it's super minimalistic, and like we've talked about today, how sometimes it's just weird things, combination of sounds, whether it be rubbing your hands together, some vinyl noise. It just is really broad, and a lot of the tracks have a lot of open spots to them. Most don't have vocals, so that's half of the sounds right there that are gone you're used to in your music. And I think with how minimal lo-fi is and with these weird sounds, it gives your mind a lot of room to connect with things. And sometimes you might not even know it's connecting, but when the sound of that rain comes on in that background, it's just a sense of, emotion for you, because usually when it's raining, people are either sad, they're depressed, they're hopeful. It reminds them of something. So I think in our heads, without us even realizing, sometimes these sounds from these songs can engage a thought, um, or something like that. And most of the lo-fi specific revolves around these just weird experimental sounds that I think are just engaging to the more emotional side of our head. So I think it's just individually for everyone. I think some people won't connect with it, and that's not a bad thing. I think it just comes down to left and right brain thinkers. All of our heads are different, so when we do connect, it just touches on those soft spots for us.
I feel that 100%. It's I definitely feel an emotional connection to a lot of lo-fi tracks and just instrumental tracks in general because there's not specific lyrics that tie you to a certain emotion or to express what the song is supposed to feel like in a sense, if that kind of
100%.
makes
100%.
any sense at all.
With lo-fi, since you don't have any vocals, it's like Speech said, like it's just those instruments, those sounds that kind of they speak to you in different ways. I mean, you can make happy music and make sad music, but like it's the sounds that you use that, or like the sounds that you find use wherever that kind of make people think those emotions, I guess. But like Speech said, some people won't connect to it, and then some people will. It just depends on the person.
Now, what are some? Would you guys like to share some artists or tracks that you've really been vibing to as of recently, or some of your personal
Ooh.
favorites for someone to check out who's never heard lo-fi before? I know
I
Speech
have
is.
a
Yeah, I know
perfect
Speech is
example.
biting
I'm
it.
fired up. I'm lined up. I'm lined up, but I already know if Kaspa had to pick one, I know he'd agree with me so hard on this. So I'm so confident in sharing this because it also hits exactly
I
what
think I
lo-fi
already know
is.
what you're gonna say now.
It's gonna be "Gone" by Eli Philo. It's a really, I would consider it an emotional track, like we talked about. It has a lot of these weird sounds, and it just
It's
really
actually,
hits the nail on the head to
I
me.
think it's a perfect description of a lo-fi track there, to be honest.
It just has everything we've talked about, even a little bit of vocal things here and there. It's like this radio recording or some type of quote that he loops throughout the song, so it kind of has vocals, kind of doesn't. It has this heavy rain noise in the background. It's like the perfect description of lo-fi to me.
Very true. Very true. That's like a perfect track to show some.
Now, for me, possibly my favorite instrumental track that I've every time it comes on, I never skip it. It's one of those for me. It just strikes this weird sense of emotion for me, and it's Luminescence by Harbor Day.
Yes.
Yes, Speech
Yes.
knows. Speech knows. It's one of those tracks that I just can't ever really find myself to skip. It doesn't matter what setting I'm in or anything like that. That's kind of the type of song that just it just hits right for me. I don't know.
And that's really what it's about. It's really just unique how each of these connect with us. So that's why I think it's incredibly special when you find someone else that can connect with not even the same way you're feeling, but that extra level of like emotion on a track. Because I've had so many times where I'm listening to a lo-fi track and I think it's this moody, kind of depressing type song that kind of reminds me of something in my past, and then I might show it to a friend who connects with it, but it's kind of a hopeful, positive song for them. So I
Very
just
true.
think the power, because I mean, there's just, no matter how big songs are nowadays that are mainstream, they typically portray a specific mood or like one or two moods. It's either like, you know, if it's a high intense rap song, it's aggressive. It's about showing off. If it's a country song, it's about, you know, like family, friends, stuff like that. But like lo-fi just allows it to be any way the listener portrays it, and I think that's extremely powerful.
Yeah, I mean, like that's I really agree with this. I was actually gonna give you an example. It's like I feel like with lo-fi, when you go to like let's say a gallery and you look like on like this art and you like two different people could portray the art in different ways. And this is exactly what lo-fi tracks are as well. Because you don't have the vocals thinking about one specific thing. You got all those different melodies, instruments, and sounds that kind of help you to portray it the way you want it to.
And exactly with what Caspa's saying, like specifically the art example, two people can look at the art differently, and then there can be a third person in the background who walks right by it and doesn't even think it's art at all. And you have all of that. So it's really just, it's really wild. It's really wild.
It is. Lo-fi is definitely I wouldn't consider it a niche genre anymore, especially with the amount of growth it has in how many people actually indulge in listening to lo-fi on a daily basis. But it just, I don't know, it just does something different for everybody. And then some people, it doesn't do anything at all, just like you said.
And sometimes even those people still love it, and like, I mean, there's people out there that I think respect the music for what it is, whether it be their profession or whatever they're doing. But I mean, it's hard, in my opinion, for someone to listen to a general few lo-fi songs and not at least appreciate what it is, because the fact that you can still have a conversation while it's playing is powerful. And I just think it can be used for a lot of different things, even beyond just listening to it specifically.
Definitely, definitely. You definitely see a lot of lo-fi now, even when it's become more, don't want to say mainstream, because mainstream is some pop and stuff like that, but it's definitely become more mainstream in the sense of creation, whereas you see it a lot more in big YouTube videos, advertisements, stuff like that. People are starting to come around and use lo-fi more and more because they realize the utilitarian aspect of it, because it's not a
Yes.
song with vocals, it's not a specific feeling or a specific mood being portrayed. It's more than that in a sense.
It's just sometimes for some people, it's just completing the puzzle to a project they already have. I mean, if you were looking at a digital walkthrough of a Ferrari and there was absolutely no music on, if you just threw a lo-fi beat on any style in the background, it's just going to add that extra pep, extra little like spice to that video. And I think,
That car, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just gonna, no matter what you're doing, it just adds that extra little oomph, I would call it, to anything.
Definitely. Now, since we're kind of on the topic of lo-fi and kind of the community perception of it, what's some things in your guys' opinions that are going on in the lo-fi community, good, bad, or other? Just kind of what's really happening in the lo-fi community and the community between artists and producers, and even even curators and stuff like that. Because if you don't know about lo-fi, lo-fi really started through curated playlists, and Spotify has really kind of helped push lo-fi into the forefront and into the spotlight a little bit.
For
And
sure.
it's kind of moved from just Spotify curated playlists to now where you have privately curated playlists from different companies, such as, I mean, you have big name players, Chill Hop, Chill Cow, Puebla Vista, places like that. They're technically record labels, but they're also doing curated playlists and stuff like that. So, what are some things that you guys are seeing in the community right now that's either good for the genre, bad for the genre, or anything in between, honestly?
Well, I just want to start for one. Casper and I connected through mostly funk. I mean, we knew each other through funk, but then I think once the lo-fi really started to become like a kind of like we were set on that, kind of making that both individually at the time. I think that's kind of where our sense of community started. And Casper, tell me if I'm wrong or if you have anything to add to
Very
it, but I feel
true.
like that's like when Casper and I connected, I'd say probably about 2 years ago now at this point,
I
like
think
really
even
talking.
longer, man. Like, I mean,
Well,
really talking 2 years ago, but overall, probably like 3 years ago.
we've definitely been in communication for a long time, which started in funk. Um, so like I think the community of lo-fi speaking on good terms of it, you asked for the good or the bad. I think it's good because it can bring a lot of different people together. And for me, I'm living that, especially with Cass being one of my best friends now. So it's like the sense of community is really cool because once again, you don't have a specific language on these songs. So
Mm.
even if we didn't even speak the same language, we could connect through the music.
Now, touching on
And
that, you have connected with other people who don't speak the same language as you.
Correct.
correct?
Yes. Yes. The fact is that Spotify, as of right now, is in 76 countries, and every single day, someone from one of those countries listens to lo-fi. So no matter where they're at, they can have access to it, and if they connect with it, they have the ability, to keep listening, dig deeper into that genre easily. I mean, when there's no words and it's just simply emotion based music, you can just really dive into it easier, I feel.
Yeah,
And
that's very true.
that's just what it's all about to me.
Now, I've been lucky enough to kind of bandwagon off of you a little bit because we lived together for so long that I've actually gained connections with artists and stuff like that who I would have never even thought about even talking to in a million years, especially like Casp. If it wasn't for speech, Casp and I wouldn't really even know each other, and it's
Mm.
pretty interesting just because this genre of music brings people together who you wouldn't necessarily think would have emotional connections with each other in a sense.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, like I would consider. I mean, you guys live in America, I live in Europe, and we still speak every day. Like, and it's all for that one genre,
With
or like, just crazy. Like,
with the 5-6 hour time difference, we're still talking every day, because it's like when you connect with someone and you are both really into it, it's cool, and then you learn more, and then you just become friends. I mean, it's just really cool. So I think the sense of community is only growing. So I can't speak. It's only growing more worldwide by the day, just because it's accessing more and more places.
that's very true, and especially right now, like you got a lot of lo-fi labels who are doing stuff like Discord chat, and like they're doing other stuff like forums and just kind of website where people can come hang out, producers can show work. They're doing like sample flips, like everyone's kind of connecting together, coming into like one big community. Different labels have different channels, and yeah, everyone just kind of comes in and out, just like looking,
Digitally
listening to
hanging out.
music. Yeah, exactly.
And
And
then
the
Casper and I, we connected mostly through PlayStation after, as like a daily source of communication, because we were talking over Snapchat or Discord, whatever, and then it was just like, yo, you're into like Call of Duty, cool, we can play that too, and then it's
Now
just
it's
a
just
stepping stone.
every day. Yeah,
Now it's every day, yeah. I mean, we're just always chilling, and I think there's a lot of good, but then, as you asked, there is some bad as well. But I think that comes with any type of community that sees growth. There's always going to be some bad stuff. As the genre grows, we've talked so much about the positives of having lo-fi with no words, things like that, but it also makes it easy to replicate, sometimes easy to copy. So you do get an influx of, I would say, less than good production, in the sense, people trying to
mhm.
monopolize off of a growing genre. But just the normal things that would happen when a business is really growing, in my opinion.
No,
now
that's literally.
go ahead, Casp.
Oh no, I was just adding to that. I mean, you get a lot of like altered kind of reality between some producers just um thinking it might like happen overnight or whatever, but like it's a wild game, especially because the whole genre is growing and it's
Now, Casp, we're basically talking about connections that lo-fi is not really something that you see performed live, but you've actually done sets and stuff like that before live in physical locations. Can you talk about kind of the the physical aspect behind lo-fi and kind of that experience and getting a bunch of people together that are in person and really enjoy that type of music? What's that like? Because there's not really a whole lot of that happens here in America. In a sense, there's not a lot of lo-fi sets or places that are going out and asking for producers to do sets and stuff like that.
yeah, you know what? It's actually an amazing thing as well because I mean the last concert I played was like back in like February, March, I think, and then um with the lo-fi that you kind of play out, with the lo-fi that you play out on like two people, it's very important to have the good like track selection because like you said we, let's say me or speech or like other people might be very interested in a genre with no vocals. You still get a lot of people that come to those concerts expecting kind of rap shows, so they're expecting kind of more interesting. I don't know, I wouldn't say interesting, but more upbeat kind of vibes, whereas lo-fi sometimes can be very down tempo, very like you really have to listen to it. So it's kind of a miss not a miss it's kind of important to have that kind of specific type of lo-fi when you're playing out, that kind of very, I would say, more leading towards kind of raw hip hop back from the 80s 90s, because that's what people were more of, like vibe more than to lo-fi tracks that are very slow. And that's what I've been realizing as well. When I played my set, I had like my set list, but I also improvised. I wanted to see what would happen if I play a track that's slower, and like people are vibing out, people are like, let's say just like nodding their head, just getting feeling good, and then you surprise them with like a slow track, and like you see some people are like just not prepared for it. They like either go to the bar, they like they can't stick around. I mean people I mean most people listen to music that is very fast, not fast, but like it changes quickly, whereas some lo-fi can be um quite um I wouldn't say minimal, but quite static and not
Like
really
not
like.
enough change to sometimes the general listener, right?
Yeah,
Like kind
that's
of
very
like
true. So when playing out and like we're playing live, lo-fi has to be very. You have to know kind of what tracks will work well with with the audience that you have in front of you. And like with me, I actually wanted to make it a bit more interesting by me playing guitar on top of actually DJing lo-fi, and I feel that's where producers or like artists will actually like benefit from playing live, because it's more like it's just more like there's more happening, it's more interesting. You don't look at the person just like clicking buttons, you kind of look at the person like playing an instrument and kind of engaging with the audience, whatever. So that's kind of like my idea. But playing lo-fi is amazing. I mean, when you're in that room and like there's like, I don't know, 50, even like 100 people in the same room or whatever, like just jamming to the same track, and like you you um you kind of just affect the whole emotion of the place. So like the mood is literally like the best thing ever, because if you see even five people nodding their head and like enjoying themselves, you're doing something right. So it's like it's like one of the best feelings for me, at least. Like it's really nice.
Now, do you think your aspiration to kind of do the live lo-fi sets comes from your passion for music and when you first started playing guitar and stuff like that, just kind of getting out in front of people and doing your thing?
Yeah, so I mean, back in the day, always wanted to be in a band. I always wanted to either make my band or like make a band or like play in a band. And I remember I used to play school concerts. Always like me and like one of my friends, we always used to like jam out in school. And then at the end of the whole year, we'd have like a school concert, and we used to just jam out on stage. And it's definitely something that like I want to do. Like I want to make my own music, and I want to play that to the people, to like people, to like venues, etc. So it's definitely that's like that kind of aspect of playing live is definitely affecting how I'm thinking about lo-fi and how I'm thinking about being like an artist in that genre, and how I would like put those things together to like make my set and like just start playing live in different venues to different people, etc.
Gotcha, gotcha. Is there anything else you guys like to touch on? Anything at all? Just uh, tell the people what's going on with what you guys are doing. Anything like that? Upcoming releases? Any kind of promotion? Promote your guys. Promote yourselves. Anything like that?
I know Caspa's got some fire lined up for the next couple months. I can say that because I've heard that shit, and I can confirm it is hot. It is on fire.
Yeah, I got
Tell
some
them those dates,
stuff.
man.
So yeah, so in June, actually, in June, 3rd of June, I got a single coming out on a 10-track compilation with the like record label Chill Beats. It would be available on all platforms. But yeah, I mean, it still hasn't been announced fully, so it's still like in the works. But then on the 14th, this is official. I'm releasing a 5-track EP with a label called Pueblo Vista. Um, and then yeah, I've been working with Speech on some fire as well. So
Oh yeah.
we got some stuff coming out, and like yeah, I mean during these crazy times right now, I've been working a lot, and then Speech has been like grinding his ass off as well. So we have tracks coming out definitely.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff working. Me personally, I just have a couple singles coming out. My next kind of like staple project is gonna be a little 3-track mini EP with YouTuber Ryan Celsius. Shout out. He is someone who, in my opinion, is for the music, whether it be funk or lo-fi. He is literally just he's if you don't know him, go to YouTube, search Ryan Celsius. He, in
Crazy
my
man,
opinion,
he's got
he's a
some
pioneer of
yeah.
underground music promotion, funk, lo-fi, anything in between. He's one of these guys that's like always putting on shit you've never heard, and
Exactly. He looks deep for tracks.
he's deep, man. He's a good dude, and so that's my next kind of like staple release. He's putting together the visuals for it, artwork, really putting his creative touches and visual aspect on it. So I'm really excited for that. And then of course we always got more shit in later in the year, but just staying on the grind.
Awesome, awesome. For anybody that's interested in lo-fi and kind of wanting to get into the music production thing, do you guys have any just quick comments or advice for someone getting into the lo-fi game or music production in general? Just anything that you think would have been nice to know before you started or anything like that?
Uh, I'm just gonna make a very broad statement and say that no matter what you know about music or what you think you know, what you don't know, it's only gonna be a barrier if you allow it. I myself, I don't know how to play a single instrument at this point, no music theory, and I watch YouTube to learn everything I know. So I think no matter what you think of your own musical ability, give it a shot. You might fuck around and really come across something that you really like that you never even realized. And I would just say don't cut yourself short early. Lo-fi might not even be the genre you make. It could be one you get started in and then find your passion. So I just encourage everyone to really give it a shot if they want to.
Yeah, I would say it's just to like I mean with music and music production and making music and becoming an artist, it's a really not an overnight thing. So I wouldn't get discouraged if it doesn't happen in a year or two or three. Like people grind for 15 years before actually breaking through, you know. So I just wouldn't give up. Like if you're starting out or like if you're like halfway through or something, or like if you just started, I would just keep grinding and keep working on what you have, keep visualizing the success, and yeah, just work is a constantly every single day putting in work, at least in marketing or music or playing or learning new things. Like it just doesn't it wouldn't happen if you like spend an hour once a week like just playing around. You have to be focused on what you do, and it's a consistent thing. It's like gym basically.
Yeah, it's a great example.
Cool.
Um, I think it's just like working out. It's like once you start working out every day, your body's used to doing it. It's easier to do. I think whatever your work pace is, it's really finding that, and just it's different for everyone. So you can't just like, oh, he does this, do that. It's really finding your own, and then just
Yeah, your own
having
sound.
fun. Don't ever not have fun. I mean,
That's the
that's
most important, to be
yeah.
honest.
If you're not having fun and you're forcing it, then it's just not right. The product's gonna show it. So like, always make sure you're having fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Last comments from you guys before we end this thing. before you guys make them, I'd just like to say thank you for joining me and kind
Likewise.
of
Yeah,
kind
man,
of
this is
helping me get this off the ground a little bit.
for sure. For sure.
Anytime.
My only closing comment is gonna be Kaspa, Kaspa period, and then I'm speechless. Spelled normally.
Period.
We're on all we're on all of the streaming platforms. If you have Spotify, follow us. If you have Apple
Yeah.
Music, click that little heart button. Follow us on Instagram and yeah, just show some love because I mean I think I can speak for Casper too. Some of the best parts of our day are when people reach out,
That's
whether it
like
be
the
they
best thing, to be
listen to a
honest.
song, they vibed
Damn,
with
bro.
it, just letting us know is great.
When you wake
Also,
up, bro, and this
go
message
ahead,
is
Cass.
crazy.
Yeah.
Nah,
Also,
son.
for the people that don't know, Speech and Caspa both are very active on Instagram and social media in general. I will leave links to their social media profiles in the description. Uh, this will be out on YouTube. I'm in the works of getting it on streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, stuff like that. Um, Other than that, thanks for joining us. Thank you guys for just listening to the first episode of Creatives and Conversations.
Yeah.
Any tips at
Yeah.
all that you guys have or would like to see in future episodes? Just let me know. And thank you to Caspa and Speech, two good friends of mine
Big shout out.
who have always kind of
Yes,
inspired me
sir.
to create a little bit and move on with the journey some.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Always
much
down.
love, bro.
Always down.
All right, boys.
Take it easy, guys.
Peace. 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 Peace.